Hey everyone, it's Book of Katherine. So I just have some exciting news today about my health, and I really wanted to update you guys about it. So it kind of explains a lot of things on my channel. I think, anyway, we had a really big doctor's appointment this week, and it's one of those things where, yeah, they referred us on, but it referred us on to some things from the last 6 months. If you've been following my history of the last 6 months, then you're going to know how big this is. They referred us on to neuropsychiatric and neuropsychological testing. And when you hear the words psychiatric and psychological, you're going to maybe possibly, if you see my depression series, when I talked about the difference between psychiatric and psychological, you may think like, oh my gosh, she's being sent for, crazy town or something like that, or depression thinking. And it's not because of neuro in front of it. So neuropsychiatric and neuropsychological is when they start working on, they use psychiatric and psychological tests in order to test the brain structures and the neuron functions in order to see what's going on up here. And a way we know that is, for example, I forwarded this on. I used it last fall to explain something that I had caught. A Dr. Phil video actually did it. A Dr. Phil interview that he did with a neurosurgeon. He did an interview with a neurosurgeon last June 2019. He did an interview on his podcast with a neurosurgeon from UCLA. Yay, UCLA is coming through. So UCLA, and he did an interview with them, and it turns out that this guy works with the NFL, and he helps them test for concussions off the field. And what they do is they no longer do this thing where they check an eye. What they do now to test the brain is for concussions is they do neuropsychiatric testing or neuropsychological testing. And what those do instead is they test to see if the brain has been, if the neurons have been impacted at this very, very minute level that something like an MRI would not catch. That technology we have today just would not catch. We don't have the technology today that wouldn't catch it. What does catch it is what we know if you've seen the movie Concussion. The only way the guy caught that the concussion had happened is he saw this guy on this cart, this guy shriveled up, this long-term NFL player, and he saw the whole body shriveled up, just like you saw my feet curved in. This guy's curved feet, if you saw the pictures from the movie Concussion, this guy's feet were curved, but he was much older than me. He was about 40 years on, 50 years on from me, and his feet were curled up and his toes were curled up. So he was further on than I was, and he had more concussions than I had. So he was way curled up, but his hands were curled up and his toes were curled up. But it was on the same path that I was, where I was starting to turn in and curled up. I was like, man, I recognize that. Now that I had been, when I first saw Concussion, I wasn't that far along. Now that I watched it again, when I started watching some of Concussion in 2019, I was like, oh my gosh, I recognize more of this. I recognize more symptoms. And I know how to fight against them now, like pressing down my toes on the outer toes and pressing them into the ground to fight against it. If you don't know what to start doing and how to reconnect, unless you have that physiotherapy, if you don't know that it's there, if you don't do these tests to know that it's there, you don't know. I mean, you really don't know how to fight against it because all the tests will come back clear. And so what he did was, but the doctor saw this guy who had died from it, and he said, but he saw the whole body shriveled up with all these problems, but the brain looked completely normal. And he said, there's no way this brain can be completely normal and this body be like this. So what he did is he started doing slides of it, and the MRI looked completely normal. So he started doing thin slides, and on a very small molecular level, he saw that there was like this scarring, this impact. The neurons had been like whammed. So what they've done is, since we don't have the technology to pick up on a molecular level this kind of damage, what they've done of this like concussion that happens on this molecular level, what they've done is they've done these amazing tests like neuropsychological and neuropsychiatric tests that can test and see if something's happened. And what because what happens is that the person will seem completely normal. They can have a conversation with you like I can with you, and I can talk to you about Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Donald Trump. I can talk to you about the Roman, German, UK empire and figure out that the UK throne has been German since the 1600s. I can figure that out for you. I still can't tell you what day it is. Dang it, I still don't know what day of the week it is. I think it's Thursday, and I only know that because my nurse canceled. But I figured it out. I got it there. I'm pretty sure it's Thursday, I think. I think it might be Thursday. I think it might be. I'm not quite sure. But I can't tell you what happened last night. Can I tell you what happened last night? Okay, see, when I start to go back there, my head starts to hurt. But I have started doing some apps. My friend gave me some apps for some brain games that specifically go into this stuff. So I've started doing them so it hurt less to try and think about the day. So some things have started hurting less. So I'm very grateful. I'm realizing how much less that hurt than it has in the past. Let's see if spelling my name hurts less now that I've been doing those games. Katherine. Whoa, look how fast I said that. Look how fast I said that. And it didn't hurt nearly as much. I would say it hurt like, there's a 45% reduction in pain. I'm going to have to thank them. Oh, okay. So anyway, I'm like, oh, it still hurts I shouldn't have done those 3 exercises I just did. Now let's see if I can remember what I was talking about. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that in the middle of taping. Here, neuropsych. I have it written down so I can not forget. All right, so neuropsychological tests and neuropsychiatric tests. So neuropsychological tests. So it uses psychological testing. They use psychological tests they already have to test brain structures and brain pathways. So they use it to test brain structures and brain pathways and see how well they're doing. So they use them to see if these pathways are using, and it's from what I hear, it's like a 5-hour test. And I was like, please tell me they can break that up. There's no way I can do 5 hours of testing in a row. But what they do is like 5 hours of testing, and they test all the different pathways. And what I've learned is, I'm kind of excited. They have some... the reason I'm being sent in for this testing is because some of the doctors that I've been referred to lately, they think they may know what's wrong with me. Like the other end, I have these injuries in my spine that the procedures, and I said there's something else wrong with my head, like the traumatic brain injury has caused this thing, like the things that the shaking and everything like that. I was like, and the severe chronic pain and like not being able to talk. The TMJ, when you get traumatic brain injury, it can lead to all these sorts of things. And they think that there's there's something else. There's a reason why I'm still shaking. For example, like, I'm so much stronger, right? I'm so much stronger. I can lift so much more. I can, like, the things I can do are so much, like, the things I can lift, what I'm doing. Well, the things I can do are so dramatically more different than what I could do before. But there are some things that have stayed the same, and the things that have stayed the same is this constant tremor that I have, and this constant thing of this up and down with my health, this constant cycle with my health that stay the same. So, for example, I still have to keep my walker around. What I do, though, I don't need that walker nearly as much. I've built up so much muscle that I can really stand upright. I keep the walker around for stability so that when I have this tremor, I kind of hold on to the walker to make sure the tremor doesn't knock me over. And so I can stand up for a lot longer, and then I keep the walker, and I like keep the tremor down and things like that. But after a while, the tremor will knock me over. After a while, I will wear out, and the tremor will eventually knock me over. That's a problem. Like, we need to get the tremors out of there or whatever. Well, they think they may know what this constant tremor is, and I did actually look it up, though we've looked up things like this before. This has happened before. But I swear to goodness gracious, like, it even looks like it affects dancers. Like, it was really weird because when I looked it up, it was like dancer. And I was just like, oh my gosh. There's even like a major dancer out there that was happening, and I was like, I really think this person's like me. I really think this person's like me because all these things help them. And I really think this thing is like really affecting dancers out there because we injure our bodies so much, because we wear down our bodies so much. I feel like we're more susceptible to this or whatever. And then bam, when this one doctor was like, I think it may be this, we need to send you into testing for this. And what it is we just damage so much that you damage your neurons more. And I've said this to people. I actually stumbled upon it. I've started saying in my talks to people, in my chronic pain talks, like I've stopped my chronic pain talks because those wasn't helping me get stronger. When I did my chronic pain talks, what I said was, well, yeah, you get in a car accident and you break your bones and you break your neurons. And we have treatments. We used to treat the bones and we used to treat the neurons. We used to do nerve blocks all the time. Now they just do bone healing and they stop doing the nerve blocks. They're like, oh no, we don't want it. They want you on the drugs instead. They want to put you on drugs, and they like before pain meds, before they legalized cocaine, before they legalized heroin, before they legalized all these pain drugs, and codeine and all these things, before they legalized all of them, they did nerve blocks. That's what they had. That's what they did, was these nerve blocks, and they just put in a stint, they put in a nerve block for people. And then they just stopped all that. They just stopped all this nerve, and they were like, here, full of addictive meds, because that was much more profitable for Wall Street. They did that in the 90s during, and it was both the Republicans and the Democrats are responsible for that. They are both involved in this climate change thing with Germany. They're both responsible for that climate change Rio thing that helped Germany and Rome get really, really rich and the UK get really, really rich. It was a great big profit sharing thing that Warren Buffett was involved in. American Wall Street investors got really rich in it, just like same thing happened with Nazi Germany. A lot of American Wall Street investors got really, really rich in it. Same thing with Germany, that Rome and the UK. And like I said, I can figure all that stuff out, but I can't tell you what, did we say Thursday? See, my head's doing better. Anyway, so but I saw this video of this person, and it was like, I was like, oh, they're a dancer. And I was like, oh, yeah. And it was like, this is my story of how I lost the ability to walk. And I was like, wow, I actually had a talk. I actually had a talk that I actually talked about how I was this champion dancer and I lost the ability to walk. It was like verbatim my talk or whatever. And I'm just like, it was really crazy it might not be it, but at least we have a direction. I do know, ever since seeing that concussion thing and knowing that it's neuropsychiatric tests, like my doctor was like, I'm sorry, I'm bumping you on. I'm sorry, I'm referring you on. And my husband and I are like, are you joking? Like, referrals on, it's one thing, we've been in that loop before where doctors refer us on and go, we don't know why are you here? Why are you here? This doctor wasn't like that. They weren't like, why are you here? Why did they send you here? That's what's very frustrating as a patient. This doctor was like, I think I know what's wrong with you. I think I know what's wrong with you. I think it's in this area of science. I want to make sure I need tests in order to help me see if this is what's it. Why apologize for that? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. After 10 years, you think you have an answer for me and you want to test me to see if that's what it is. You need more information on me. And by the way, you want to give me the very tests that, my doctors have been saying, like, why haven't you been tested? Like, the first thing out the gate back in 2011 was a concussion, a severe concussion. I am shocked I was not given these tests back then. I'm absolutely shocked that I was not given these tests back then. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, why wasn't... Anytime someone has a concussion, if NFL players are getting neuropsychiatric and neuropsychological tests the moment they're off the field to see if they have a concussion, then I think every patient automatically needs to go in to see that thing, because then it tells you how much nerve damage they have. Because they're not going to see it on an MRI, they're not going to see it on a brain scan, they're not going to see it on, but they have the psychological psychiatric tests to actually bear it out and tell what the brain structures have been affected. That's amazing. Doctors have basically, jerry-rigged a way to find out what's wrong. And I'm like, sign me up. I mean, may wear me out or whatever, but I'm ready. I'm like, let's find out. And I'm so glad that, my husband was like, are you sure? Like, are you sure? Like, when he saw like some of the things of like because if this is it, it means that my procedures were more painful than it was for other people. And it seems like my pain doctor knew that. She was like, for you, we need to go at this pace. For you, we need to go at this pace. She seemed to know like these procedures were more painful for me than they were for the average patient. I've even said, I'm very, very sensitive. Most patients aren't. I'm very, very sensitive. Most patients aren't. And I'm just like, are you joking? Are you joking? Like, I'm so glad I've come as far as I have. I don't think I should maybe necessarily go any further. Like, I've got both my legs back. I can use them. I've had ablation. I can use, but maybe not do the left leg now because left leg is not, like, I can think now. I can think every day. I have clarity of thought much more than I did before. The pain's been lowered enough to where I have where I don't wake up and I can't speak. Whereas I wake up and I can think, and then I get into bad areas where I can't speak. And it's not the other way around where it takes me forever. It does still take me some time to remember, oh, there's such a thing as meds. Like like I need to take my round of meds. Those still does happen. But it used to every day, it would be hours before I remembered there was even such a thing as medicine out there. I would be in such a haze of pain. My brain was such low functionality from the pain that I had this whole round. It's not pain meds. We're talking an entire round of medicine to have any kind of communication between my head and body go. And that is the one thing that is very interesting. If it's in this area, they actually say like no matter the treatment, there are treatments you can do. There are treatments to get you successful back on, but these meds will needed for the rest of your life or whatever. And I said, I have a feeling that there are certain meds that I will need for the rest of my life. I just have a feeling. And I'm okay with that because there's like practically no side effects with these meds. I said these are genius meds that help your nervous system run amazingly well. And I feel very lucky to have them. And they have almost no side effects. I feel very, very lucky to have them. I don't have any problem with that. I'm aware that that's a possibility. And I'm just kind of like, I kind of resigned myself to that a long time ago. What I want is this like insane amount of pain. I'm like, I don't mind treating the injuries. Let's treat the injuries. Now I've come down to a normal thing. We've got the injuries down. Now I've come to a normal healthy thing of pain, and like now let's treat whatever the head is or whatever and stuff, so that procedures aren't like whatever procedures need to be done next or whatever, let's not do them in the maximum amount of pain that I need to be in, and let's see what can be done. Like, let's just see. I don't know. I want to get these other tests done first. I don't know. I'll ask my doctor what they think. I'll leave it up to them or whatever, but I really want to get their opinion. But the reason I'm happy today and the reason that I'm taping this is because when we went in, and I'm going to cry again. When we went in, the doctor was like, the only problem is that it takes forever to get in. It's almost impossible to get in. These things are really, really highly sought after, and it's going to take forever to get in. And my husband and I are like, yeah, we're used to that. We're used to that. Don't worry. And he's like, no, we're talking months here. And we are like, and in our heads, we're like, we know that means 6 to 9 months. We know what that means. Months means 6 to 9 months before we'll ever get in. And it's been 2 days, and my husband just said, I got a phone call and we're scheduled for 1 round of testing. And I was just like, and I just like, I totally started crying. Like, I just was like, what? It's such a big deal. Like what the doctor said, he said it. He was like, it's obvious. He's like, you're sitting here stuttering to me. He's like, it's obvious that there's something wrong. He's like, you are stuttering. There is something wrong with your mouth. Your brain is obviously, you guys can see it at times. You've seen it. I've been walking along, and then all of a sudden I'm like, there's obviously something wrong with the brain. And if I start, I don't want to trigger the brain any more than I have by spelling my name and stuff like that. I really don't want to push it. But you guys have seen, I try not to show a ton of it on here because it gets really distressing. It's really hard to watch. And it can be almost nightmarish if you see too much of it. And it's easier to live it than it is to watch it. So Anyway, so, but the point is that it's just a big deal to be like, oh, we're going to get tested earlier. I mean, that's just a big, big deal. I can't believe we're getting tested earlier, because that just means we get into the doctors who can give us answers about what those things mean earlier. And if there's nothing, that just means that just means there's answers around that corner. It means something to knock off the list or whatever. But he's just like, no, it's clear there's something wrong. Like there's something neurologically, and this is the way to find out exactly what neurologically is, being blocked. And he's absolutely right to find out. I mean, these are the tests to find out what's wrong. And I mean, what's interesting is in so many ways, I've already figured out in my head, my lifestyle has become so much better. I've managed my episodes have decreased and my pain has decreased on such a massive scale because I've learned that my brain, because I've almost learned, I'm realizing as I'm speaking to you, I've actually learned that, it's sections of my brain that aren't doing well. And I need to avoid certain sections of my brain, like future planning. Don't do that. Don't do future planning. No future planning. No remembering backwards. No digging into the past. I do well right here. Just stay right here. Okay, and then only stay here for 20 minutes. And then if I start to feel this brain, be aware of that. Now switch. And literally, it's okay to tell my husband or tell my friends. We need to wear off from that. Literally, when the DC trip came up, my friends had so many things they wanted to schedule in for me. They had so many things they had scheduled in for me, like dinners or places they wanted me to go. And I literally was like, you cannot talk to me about it. You cannot talk to me about what's coming. You need to wait for me to get there and let me do it in the moment. You can have all the places and stuff that you want from me then and there, but you cannot do that to me because I will go into episodes. This is future planning. We really can't do it, or we can't talk. I said, you got to wait for a day. And it would, sometimes I'd just wait 24 hours. And the next day I'm like, you can talk to me about it now. My brain's okay now. Other things have been filtered off. We can talk about it now and we'd be good. And the pain management has been just because I have figured out, figured out that brain structures are in play, and I've been managing it based on my head. And I figure out, I take headache medication. I've already had headache medication, but sometimes now I'll take headache medication and not pain medication. I'll take and that will calm down the pain. Does that make sense? It'll ward off an episode by taking a migraine pill. And what I would used to do is I never took a migraine pill until I was deep into a migraine. I would wait. Now I'm like, oh, no. Feel the migraine coming. It's going to, and I realized when a migraine comes, it goes all the way deep in the lower back and usually comes with a shudder and this whole other thing. And you have to take a whole series of different things. Cut all of it off when you feel migraine coming. You also know, when I would always say, like I said, I had felt it. I was like, I can tell you an episode's coming. I can feel it's like this flush that happens. I feel literally like a trigger happen, whoosh, right down the back, the rightest side of my head. And that's the other thing is that I have figured out it's the right side of my head. They're going to figure all that out. I'm like, I know it's the right side of my head. I know what brain, I've really kind of nailed all this down and I'm doing a lot of management. Even when I was in the actual office, I was taking my sunglasses. I've learned to bring my sunglasses in with me before my procedure. I had sunglasses with me. Normally, the last time I didn't bring my walker in, I was like, I don't need my walkers. And I was like, stupid, always bring your walker with you because it just minimizes your fall situation. If for some reason, all of a sudden the tremors decide to do a whoomp, whoomp, there it is or whatever. So I just had it with me. I still was like, da, 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 da. I could walk on my own. I don't use it for all my walking or whatever and stuff like that, but it's just, it helps to have it for safety reasons or whatever. And it also takes off a load off the brain so that I can concentrate and talk to the doctors. Thank goodness too, because they kicked my husband out and they wanted to do all the questions with just me, which required memory. And I was like, and if I hadn't if I hadn't taken the walker in and taken that pressure off the body, I would have had, anyway, so I know my brain. All right, so I just wanted to tell you that I got testing in early for psychological and psychiatric, and things are really good, and that's looking up for me. And I thought you'd like to know because you guys are my supporters and you have made all of this possible. I could not have even gotten, because that appointment to do all the referrals was not cheap. That person to send me on, that was a big appointment, not cheap at all, not cheap, small little clinic, very, very expensive. Not easy to get in there, but they're like, I've seen you before. I've seen someone like you before. We've never run into anyone who has ever said, I've seen someone like you before. Worth every penny to hear someone say, I've seen someone like you before. And then to go look it up online and be like, oh my gosh, dancers who lost the ability to walk. I just can't even. But I don't want to I've learned not to give out terms or anything because we don't know. I don't want to, I'm like, let's find out first. Let's find out neuropsychiatric testing. Let's find out first and let's, we're getting more narrow here. Let's not put anyone on blast. Let's not, let's get physical. I did wear my USA earrings because Right to Try has affected my ability to do procedures and given me the ability to walk. I mean, it has been night and day walking since my last procedure. I feel so stable. It's just this whole new world, feeling my right leg and being and also my digestion, getting the nerves. Your right lumbar actually controls the right side of your digestive system. And it's just this whole new thing to have your digestive system working again and having it move. It's trying to relearn again how to move correctly. I remember when they first did the procedure, it was boom. And I was like, oh boy, it's got to learn how to work again. It's got a whole, and I remember that happened the first time. I just waited so long between procedures. It had stopped, it had slowed down and not worked again. And it stopped working again. It's so important. Every single vertebrae is so important to each one of our systems. We don't think about it. You know what I mean? We don't realize how much each one of those little nerves controls, but it really is important. And so I'm like, oh, the right side. So it's nice to have a digestive tract working again, to have a right foot that I can actually feel again, a right toe, and the stability that it provides, and not being terrified. I mean, it was really scary. Winter was we were doing a lot of fires for the winter. And it was getting to the point that every time I stood up, I felt my woof sending me into the fire. And every time I felt like I had to really work at not falling into the fire. I was like, we're going to need to get handlebars at the side of each fire thing, because I feel like I'm always going to fall into into the wood stove. I was like, this is getting terrifying. And I don't have that anymore. I'm like, I can walk. I have my two legs. I can walk. I don't feel and I'm not holding on to my husband. He's not dragging me anywhere. He's not having to walk me into anything and stuff like that. Just drag me into the restroom or drag me across the house or whatever. Now when he makes food, or whatever, I can go join him. I can go sit with him and talk with him. I haven't been able to do that in at least a month. Be able to join him in the other room and actually talk to him and spend time with him. So I'm building up the strength to be able to actually make my own food again. I was for a while there, I was making my own food, which was such a big gift, to be able to make my own food. I was actually making my own meals for a while there, which I can't even tell you. I was making my own meals. I was like, wow. So the procedures are definitely these. The guy was writing down all the accidents, and he's like, what happened? He's like, this accident and this happened. And he's like, what was going on? And we're like, California. Yeah, I don't think people who don't live in Southern California don't understand. They don't understand. And it all started, what was funny is that no one in my family nor I, we lived in Southern California, our whole whatever, you just forever, military whole time. And it wasn't until 99 and then everything starts, all these accidents start happening. And now we understand, the first sanctuary city was 96 and it just was flood and everything. And we're just kind of yeah, you don't understand until you live until you live where there isn't any of that. And then you're like, oh, I understand. And you look back at the stats and just no one's telling you that. And except for the emergency room vehicles, they're just yep. They're all expecting it, but they don't tell you. You can almost see them be like, get out of here, man, you're gonna die. You can almost see them being like, get out, you're gonna die. You know, it's written on all of their faces. They're like, just get out, just get out, just get out, you're gonna die, just get out, you're gonna die. It's really bad. It's really sad. So it's so funny now. I was thinking about like where the first accident, like it was actually in one of the first, it was actually in that it was right where Adam Schiff is actually a politician, like right in there. It's supposed to be like one of the worst areas in the world, top 5 worst intersections in the world. And we're the United States of America. We're not a third world country. That tells you a lot. That tells you a lot when an intersection in the United States of America, not a third world country, supposed to be regulated, is in the basin of LA where Adam Schiff is. He's up for re-election March 3rd, along with Nancy Pelosi. Talk to you guys later. Bye. You can tell LAPD, be like, how are those votes working for you, LAPD? Is that union stuff really working out for you? When they do all that Sharia stuff, are they really backing up the law? Oh, that sanctuary city stuff really working out for you? Democrats really backing you up? Did they stand for you? Did one Democrat stand for you in any of the State of the Unions? Did they stand for any union official? Nope. No, they didn't. Love you. Bye. Oh, please donate down below. Help pay for these tests. 5 hour. Yay. Help pay for these tests. Just $1 a month really does help. $1 a month, $12 a year. That, seriously, like if everyone did that, well, forget that. We'd all be, we could buy me new legs. But just at the rate, the number of people percentage-wise of who watch versus who actually donate, if you just do $1 a month, we're sitting well and we get as much as my husband and I can cover versus like to get us there of what we're able to, we seem to be doing just right. So it seems to be going really, really well. It seems to be balancing out perfectly right now at the $1 a month. So I figure my husband will tell me if we need to up it to $1.50 a month or something like that, if it gets really bad. Though he did say we had to cut back on some things, but he didn't say to ask for any more. So I'm not gonna. So $1 a month is doing really well. So it could just be Valentine's Day or whatever. So just sit with $1 a month and we'll be good. And I'll definitely keep you updated if it needs to go more. So it could just be that we've had so many appointments lately. We had a procedure and we had an appointment. We've had like major things back to back. So just keep on with $1 a month and then 12 for the year. We should be good. All right. I'll let you know if anything changes. Mwah. I love you guys so much. Bye.